Previously on Surviving Sliptopia.
Penelope, if you're listening, you need to call off your scouts. Call them off! The orange pickle storage room, remember? Yeah, I think we're going to be working on that pretty soon, too, because just have so many pickles in our world, we need a place to put them all. Wink, wink. What is up, the world? It is your friendly neighborhood Slipgator here. And yeah, how you guys doing? It's the weekend. Weekend mode engage. Hi. So I wanted to get some general maintenance out of the way. First of all, the world download file has been updated and is no longer a for-shared you must log in to download this file link. It is now a MediaFire. Don't worry about it. Just download it link. So you can find that in the channel description of my channel page. And also, I thought I would mention, I put it in all my videos, in my video descriptions, but I wanted to mention it. If you guys have Twitter, I have Twitter as well. And I tweet quite a bit. I do a lot of tweeting about stuff and things, but a lot of times if you follow me on Twitter, what you're going to find is that there's I do a ton of linking to videos that I like, and also to, let me turn my headphones down, because that is wicked loud for me, but not wicked loud for you. I do a lot of linking to videos that I like, and technology sites and pages that I look at, and stuff like that. So you can follow me at Slipgator on Twitter. There's a link in the description as well. And yeah, I thought that might be fun. There's a Facebook page too. There's a Facebook, and it's been up for a while. And again, links in the description. You can head over there and like it. And right now it has one of those crappy links where it's like Facebook/Slipgator/1148728445784998Z. And I think if we get enough likes on there, we can fix that. We can change that. So go ahead and head over and like that. Follow me on Twitter. Get the world download. All that stuff is ready for you guys. Because I don't know. It's up to you. You know, I'm not saying you have to go over there and do that, but I think that it's fun. Some people like that stuff, so it's there. So I've been working this morning in my creative world, and when I talked about building this over here, I wanted to build Rudy Warlock's 3x3 door, because he was really cool and left a video description and built a door for me to make. And I thought that was awesome, and I really wanted to use his design. And I thought about using a different 3x3s and possibly an iris door and stuff like that, but I wanted to be, I really wanted to respect that Rudy took the time to do that for me, so I wanted to use his door, but I'm having a lot of trouble with the timing. So, and I'm pretty sure I built it the way he had built it in his video response. So I don't really know what's going on. It might be 132's new piston timing. I find that vertical piston wiring causes issues with timing things. So like if you have vertical wiring on this level and then wiring on this level and you vertically wire it up and put it up there, there's a timing issue that I can't seem to wrap my head around. So I'll talk to Rudy about it, and then we'll see if we can get something figured out. But for now, what I wanted to do today is kind of talk some more, do a little bit of story time maybe again. I know it's kind of been the theme for Sliptopia for the last couple of weeks, but I thought it would be cool. You guys seem to like it. So I thought we would talk about some more story time stuff. But I thought we'd talk about high school. And I went to high school. Most people go to high school. Oh, by the way, while we talk about that, I'm going to build over here. And some things that I decided to do, I decided not to cover the bridge. Even though I'm a little, I don't know, I almost want to put something here just to stop mobs from falling down. I think I might just end up lighting that up. I don't know, and I'll show you why. We'll talk about high school, but I'll show you why this is that I didn't want to cover it. And the reason why is because when I cover it and I come over and look at it, I just think that it's more of an eyesore with a big cover on the top. Now the cover reaches up to like here, and it just kind of doesn't look right to me. The The bridge it's not a big bridge. It's not ostentatious. It's very simple. It's meant to be very simple. And so I thought we would just keep with the design, some of the design elements of the glowstone that I use, and keep it a little bit more kind of like a back door where it's not, there's no smooth, there's nothing like that going on. I do want to put some sort of something right here, a station of some kind, maybe just a storage area. I think this area cries, put something here. But yeah, this, for now, until I can think of something different to do, is probably going to stay like this. And I know it's not the most grandiose thing, but it doesn't have to be. And then when we do doors, there's going to be two, a door on each side here. And I'll do it with a T flip-flop and a button like right there, and a button like right there on the other side. And then you'll be able to, get in from both sides. But for now, excuse me, for now over here, let's just start figuring something out while we talk. So I went to high school. I graduated. My high school was very small. It was like my graduating class was less than 100 people. And I went to high school in Maine, where I'm from, in a little town, little tiny town. And it was one of those deals where my high school was like the high school for several towns, there was a lot of, like 5 towns that all went to the same high school, but still was pretty small. I think my graduating class was like 70 something. I can't remember. I don't really know. And I didn't do super well in high school because, there are a few excuses that I can think of, but the main reasons were that I abhorred homework, and I also worked. Especially my senior year, I worked. So from the time I was 16, I started working, and my first job was at a Dairy Queen, because my father got me that job. And this was after I had done things like, in Maine, you do things like, I did some blueberry raking when I was a kid, and I worked on a farm off and on, a couple of my friends' farms, just to make money, to make some sort of money. And so those don't really count as jobs. Like, blueberry raking is absolutely a horrible thing to do to your children. But it was something that I chose to do because I wanted money, and it's kind of the only way for a kid to make money back home when you're 14. So, and basically what that is like your folks drop you off at a central collection area. Oh, this new stair placement's great. A central collection area where the adults collect you, and then they drive you out in a bus to a blueberry field, and you use a blueberry rake to collect blueberries, and you get paid by the pound. And it was like the hardest job ever. It was a very difficult job. It's really backbreaking. And I wasn't a huge fan of it, to be honest with you. I only did it for a couple of weeks, and then I said, F this noise. What's down here? Can we just block this right up? What do you think? I think we can. I think we can just block that up, because there's another entrance over there. We'll leave some torches. But in working on farms, I did some farm work when I was a kid, which mostly entailed rocking fields. And rocking fields, I guess we'll talk about high school later, but rocking fields is where you walk in front of a tractor that has a bucket on it, and you pick up rocks in the field that are bigger than your fist. And you do this to make the field so that it's more, it's less rocky, right? Makes sense, but it's so that it takes the crop better. And that as well is also backbreaking work. And I was kind of a bad kid. I'm pretty surprised. I'm a pretty reformed individual now. I talked a little bit about it in my Don't Worry, Be Happy video. I don't drink anymore. I used to drink quite a bit. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, and I used to smoke cigarettes a lot. I was good at smoking cigarettes. It was one of the things I was always really good at, which is not a great thing to be good at. But I did a lot of that stuff when I was younger, and I kind of made, I made poor choices. And thankfully, I mean, I don't think everyone's this way, but thankfully, I kind of snapped out of it. It took me a while, but I snapped out of it, and I gotta say, like, looking back, what a waste of time. What an amazing waste of time and money it is to do things like I understand. I think that if you're old enough and you wanna, you wanna drink, especially with alcohol, and you're able to do it responsibly, I mean, there's no harm in that. But cigarette smoking is just ridiculous, and it never really occurred to me till I stopped. But like, you're breathing smoke, like that is bad. Breathing smoke is bad. Do I want that? I do, but I'll cover it up. We can leave some of that like that. Trying to think of how we where we want our kind of walkway. Because what I want to do with this is just probably kind of walk it out and end it. End this walkway. But I did want to create something that... So like basically gravel that and just kind of have it end. But I did want to create something over here that was a walkway over to the beacon tower, and I'm thinking, maybe we can just do it from here. I'm just thinking, making noises. But yeah, smoking is just like the dumbest thing because there's no reward. At least with drinking, you get drunk. Like you get a reward of some kind. But with smoking, you just breathe smoke and that's it, and it kills you slowly. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I still do, like, now that I've quit, I'm just like so confused as to how it's like a popular thing. I'm like, why why does anybody do this? For me, now looking back, I mean, obviously I did it because I thought it was enjoyable, but I don't know, it was enjoyable, but it's such a strange thing to enjoy. Because the reward is so minimal. But when I was a kid, I used to do things so that I could get money so I could buy cigarettes and stuff, and it's just such a dumb thing to do. Is this gonna work? Is this gonna look correct? Yeah, that sucks a little bit, huh? But is it getting dark already? Gosh, gosh. But yeah, as an older person, now that it's sounding like an old fogey, if there's one thing I could definitely recommend, it would be don't smoke. And it's great because I think a lot of, like, it's not like it was when I was a kid. And a lot of kids, like, got into smoking where I was from. It was, like, the thing to do. And, yeah. So, don't do drugs. But, yeah, I never did any stuff now, but as a kid, I did a lot of that dumb stuff, and I think that it's dumb when people say they don't have regrets. I do. I wish I'd never smoked. Like, that doesn't make any sense. A lot of the other things, like, I don't think there are any life lessons to be learned from smoking. Yeah, jobs. Let's get back to it. So I did the blueberry rake and all that stuff. I started working at Domino's Pizza, and then Domino's Pizza. Nope. I started working at the Dairy Queen, and my father's cousin owned it, so he kind of like got me in. I had an in at the local DQ, and shortly after the Dairy Queen adventures, I started working at a place called Killarney's. Which was a Irish pub in Maine, which is not populated by Irish people, so it was kind of weird. But I worked there as a dishwasher, and I had a car. I had my dad had given me a car, and somebody had actually hit me, and so I bought my father's truck from him. And my dad wasn't one of those my family, we weren't one of those kind of people where, like, he gave me a truck. Like, I bought it I had to take out a loan and buy the truck from my father. And so I had a car payment and, car insurance and those sorts of things. So I needed to work. And I actually worked full time. So the end of my junior year, especially in the beginning of my senior year, was really tough for me scholastically because I would go to school, be up at like 6:30 in the morning to get to school, and after school, 3 days a week, I would drive directly from school at like 3:30 to work, and then work from like 4 o'clock until like 11 something, and then come home. So I don't know if it was a bad choice. It was just kind of the way that it was, and it had to be because I needed to afford things, and it caused me to not do a lot of homework, which schools enjoy that. They like homework, whereas I did not. But it's kind of funny now looking back because you don't like really need a car in high school. It's more of a want. And I created this weird thing where I bought a car, so I needed the car to get to work so I could make money for the car. It was like this strange, cyclical debt cycle I created for myself that I didn't really need. And I probably should have just focused more on school. But yeah, I was a kind of an odd kid in school. I did a lot of... I got a lot of really good grades and a lot of really bad grades. So I got a lot of A's and F's. Like I failed English every year I was in school, and I retook it and aced it every year as well. And it wasn't that I couldn't read or write. It was that I needed... it was like homework intensive. So because I had the job and stuff, I never really had time to get the homework done. And that was the main problem I had with school, was always getting homework done. But yeah, it was odd. An odd thing that I did in school. And this was back kind of before the trench coat mafia days and those sorts of things. And I was a trench coat wearing kid, and I had long hair, and I smoked, and I played in a metal band in high school. But at the same time, I was kind of like king of the computer lab, and I was that kid too. So I was very nerdy and, in a way, nerdy. I was kind of a rebel. I was a rebel without a clue. And, but I never got in trouble, and I didn't really do anything bad in high school. Like, I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't drink, and I didn't do that bad... I didn't do kind of like what is considered bad stuff while I was in high school. It wasn't until after that I really learned how to be dumb. But, yeah, I had a good time. Like, I always liked high school. I never kind of felt like I fit in. I was a little bit different, and so that causes that feeling, I think. But I think that a lot of people, I think that happens to a majority of kids. Most kids don't feel like they fit in, and that's probably because, you only really fit in, I think, in high school if you're popular. And I never wanted that. Like, I never was a big fan of popularity. I had friends and stuff, don't get me wrong, and that was cool, but I never did feel like... I wasn't a cheerleader or a football player, so that kind of cut it out for me in the popularity department. But now, looking in retrospect, it's like, so I think it's a great thing that I didn't kind of have those kind of friends and aspirations, because that isn't really what's important in life, and you don't learn that until later on. But playing football in high school, I mean, it pretty much doesn't get you anywhere in real life. It's not like, on a resume, they're like, oh, you played football in high school, you're hired. It doesn't really matter, except for high school. I guess people, to a certain extent, get scholarships, and some people move on from high school through sports to do great things, to do better things because of it. But I think it's rare. Most of the people that I know in high school that played sports, they're just peeps. They didn't start playing for the NFL or anything. So I don't want to down it, I guess. It's not a bad thing to do, but I guess I feel like a lot of weight put on it in high school. That you need to play sports and be that kind of a person. And looking back, I don't see the benefit. But that's just me. I don't want to poo-poo on it too much, but it's just how I feel about it. And so I did a lot of the work and stuff, and it was always odd for me in school because I would do things like I would ask my teacher, instead of doing a book report on this book, could I read these 3 books? Could I read the Tolkien trilogy instead and do a book report on those? And thankfully I had teachers that were cool like that. My history teacher, Mr. Hutchins, who looked exactly like Gargamel from the Smurfs. Exactly. Well, he was like a taller, lankier version of Gargamel. But he was pretty cool. He let me student teach a class on John Brown in his history class. And I think John Brown's just one of the most colorful people we have in American history. And I was really, really into John Brown when I was in high school. He was an abolitionist in pre-Civil War, Civil War American history. He was a white guy who believed that God had told him to free the slaves. And he did a lot of crazy stuff. Really, really crazy stuff. Like insane crazy stuff. And it was really funny. Pretty interesting, actually. And so I taught a student a 1-day or 2-day class in American history on John Brown and kind of who he was and how he affected the abolitionist movement. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess maybe I can talk about that. It's pretty interesting. This is going to be a strange history lesson for you guys, but maybe it'll just make for a long episode, and that'll be cool because you guys seem to like the longer ones a little bit. I don't know if I like this. I don't think that I do. I think that this needs to be straight up wood, like a retaining wall. Like, no, not like that. Like this. Yeah, maybe we'll do like so. Not bad, right? Now that I've switched gears, I've teased you with the John Brown story, and now I'm just like, nope! Time to build. Should we leave that as dirt? Do you think? I think we should not. Let's see what it looks like if we make it into all wood. Get you down in there. Oh, running out of woods. Alright, so I don't remember the year exactly, but pre-Civil War, John Brown was quite the character. Bleeding Kansas was a term that was given to the kind of battle of Kansas to be whether it was going to be a free slave or a free state or a slave state. Because back in the pre-Civil War days, the 2620, is that the line? I think 3630? The parallel that's on the top of Florida, the longitudinal line, or latitudinal line that's on the top of Florida, Mississippi, and all those states, you can see it if you look at the top of Florida. It's kind of that curve. That was a line that basically denoted whether states were free or slave. If you were above it, you were a free state, and if you were below it, you were a slave state. And Kansas was the first territory to bisect that line, and so there was kind of a battle on whether it was going to be a free slave or a free state or a slave state. And that's where, like, I think breacher Bibles, which were guns, that was in that time. And anyway, there was it actually kind of like broke up into factions. There were free towns and slave towns, and it was quite a strange place to be. And there were kind of fights that ended up breaking out in different areas. Does this look like what we want? I don't know if I like all that. Let's look at it down here. But the St. Lawrence River Valley, there was a battle. There was a fight, and I think it was 7 So there were pro-slave people that attacked these anti-slave people walking down the riverbed, and I think it was 7 of them were killed. 7 of these guys were killed. And this is the first emergence of John Brown in American history. So John Brown goes to the town where these pro-slave people are with a bunch of his posse. And he takes 7 men out from their houses, and he takes them into the middle of the main street, and he cuts their heads off with a broadsword. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. He wasn't the kind of man to be trifled with, evidently, and he wasn't a sane person. This is early America. It is pre-Civil War, but swords weren't really the weapon of choice. He was kind of trying to send a message. And so, how's this gonna work? We need like a walkway. How is this gonna work, guys? Maybe up to here, and then we'll start filling in. So yeah, John Brown did that, and it was pretty insane. And so after that, he kind of falls out of history a bit. Not quite as prevalent after that. I can't remember if there really were any repercussions because of what he had done, but obviously it sets the tone. He's not a normal dude. And later on, what goes on is him and 2 freed slaves, this is years later, but him and 2 freed slaves and his 2 sons go to Harper's Ferry, the Harper's Ferry Armory. And Harper's Ferry, if you're not familiar, is a town that later on, that's where the peace treaty, the Civil War peace treaty was signed by Robert E. Lee and I can't remember who else. I'm not that good at history. I haven't looked this up. This is off on the cuff a bit. Off the cuff, on the cuff. I don't really remember is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, how's this gonna work? I'm gonna go up here, over to here. We probably have to do some more diagonal stairs. So him and his 2 sons and 2 freed slaves go to the Harper's Ferry Armory pre the signing of the Civil War Treaty, where Robert E. Lee was actually a captain, I think, at the time, and he was in charge of the safety of the Harper's Ferry Armory. And back in the day, you might have a local armory where you live. Back in the day, an armory was like a real thing where you put arms, like cannons and guns and such. And so they took over the armory, John Brown and him and his 2 sons and 2 freed slaves, and they held it for like several days, if I remember correctly. It was quite the battle, until finally, and as it works with most truly insane people, John Brown escapes, or doesn't escape. He's taken prisoner, but his 2 sons and the 2 freed slaves die in the battle. But the 5 guys held it off against the militia, the Harper's Ferry militia, for like a long time, and I just couldn't even imagine what that must have been like to be inside of that building with an insane person for days fighting off an army, but or a militia. But eventually he was taken taken prisoner, and he was held for like a year. And what ended up going on is it was very highly publicized, and even though I think, looking back, he was an absolute crazy, insane person, the North kind of saw John Brown as a hero because he was so anti-slave, and so was the North. And the South obviously viewed him as a criminal. And he was held in the South, and eventually what went on was after about a year, he was hanged. And it was a pretty crazy story. He came out of the prison after a year and looked really had grown his hair and his beard out and was wearing like a robe. And I guess from the stories, he just looked just like Jesus, like exactly like Jesus. And guy was a nut. And he walked himself right up to the gallows and put the noose right around his own neck and was hanged. Yeah, that's kind of one of the that's a good story for you guys. I know it's a little bit of an odd story, but it's a fun one. Very strange. But those are the kind of things that I got into in high school, you know? Fun. Like, I think that's a fun, interesting thing to learn about. Yeah, we could talk more about it later, but I think for today that's going to be it. I'm going to work more on this. And you guys now kind of get the idea of how I build. I just kind of walk around a bunch. But I'm going to build the rest of this over to here. I actually think that I might do a door or an archway in the side of this to get up here. I think that would be cool. But I am going to work on it off camera. This episode has been long enough. Remember, follow me on Twitter and check out the Facebook and hit the like button if you liked the video. And yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Cheers.